Welcome to the Flute 360 podcast, where we incorporate a panoramic view of flute-related topics. I am your host, Heidi K. Begay, and this is episode 18, the Curriculum Vitae and Résumé. Today's episode is sponsored by J&K Productions. They produce all of my episodes, from adding the intro and outro music to editing the audio and all post-production needs. Contact them for your next podcast project at jkproductions.media. Hey everyone, it's Heidi, and today I'm super excited to share with you some of my tips and suggestions while you are writing your Curriculum Vitae and or resume. Before we do, just a little background of what's going on in my life. Personally, I'm going through a moving transformation craziness. We just moved from Lubbock to Fort Worth, and as you know, moving can be extremely stressful. So I am in piles of boxes. I'm not quite sure where anything is right now, and that's okay. That's just part of the process. Speaking of processes and stressful situations is the job application process. Sometimes applying to these different jobs can be extremely stressful, and that's okay. So I just wanted to put that out there just as a friendly reminder to take care of yourself. And this is a good review of Series 1, where the Flute 360 podcast, where we talked about health. So just some friendly reminders to keep your stress levels down, so that way you prevent sickness and emotional turmoil, whatever the case may be. We want to get those jobs, yes, of course, but at the same time, we want to keep our sanity and be feeling really healthy and good physically and mentally. So even though it's stressful, there are ways that we can handle and lower those stress levels and bring them down. Some things to keep in mind is to smile. Smiling kind of tricks the brain and releases endorphins. And basically by smiling, you're telling your body and your mind that things are okay. So try smiling, and that will definitely reduce your stress levels. My second suggestion would be to exercise. I love running. So just running a mile a day or every other day, I feel empowered and confident. So I would like to pass on that suggestion to you. Also, eating anti-inflammatory foods such as blueberries, avocados, pineapple. Two of my favorite foods right now are quinoa and sweet potatoes. Very, very yummy. Keep up with your essential oils. Use essential oils that are going to lift your spirits, help with mental clarity. So some oils that I'm using right now to do that are grapefruit, lemon, and peppermint oils. Make sure to sleep. Get those 6 to 8 hours of sleep. And also just be aware of your thoughts. Are these thoughts that you're having during this stressful time in your life when applying for jobs, are they positive? Are they uplifting? Are they encouraging you? Or are they negative and not really serving you well? So think about and be aware of your thoughts. Of course, it's easier said than done, but I'm a firm believer that we can definitely train the brain and build mental strength to help us and serve ourselves by talking to ourselves in a very friendly, loving way. So those are my 4 or 5 suggestions on how to keep your stress levels down while applying to these jobs. Now let's get into the details of your Curriculum Vitae and your resume. The big difference between these two documents will be the length. There are other differences, but the main difference between a Curriculum Vitae and a resume is the length. So a resume is usually about 1 to 2 pages long, while a Curriculum Vitae or a CV is most likely to be longer, unless, of course, it's condensed. But I've seen a professor, I think he was from the University of Arizona, where I was looking at his Curriculum Vitae that was posted publicly. It was about 80 pages, which is crazy, but 40 of those pages were just of his publications. So you can see how a CV can be quite lengthy. Now, the tips and suggestions that I'm going to offer you now, I think are definitely applicable to both documents, whether you're writing a resume or a CV. So the top things that I would like for you to consider when writing either document is 1, organization. You want to list different sections within your document so that way it's easy on the eyes. So your bigger sections you're going to want to underline and bold, but within each section, keep in mind that you are putting everything in reverse chronological order. Okay? So now let's talk about the different sections to keep that document nicely organized. The first section will be your education. So here you will list your degrees, when you received those degrees, and a subsection within this big education umbrella could be your teachers, where you studied with them, who are they, and not just your studio teachers, but also master classes where you have performed. The second big section of your document will be your teaching experience. Within the teaching experience, you could, if you have, mention that you have taught collegiately, or it could be privately at a middle school, at a high school. Whatever your teaching experience is, make sure you include that. The third main section is any performance and research that you have conducted or presented. The next big section is service. Within the service umbrella, you will mention any work experience, administrative experience, and possibly adjudicator experience. So if you've judged TMEA, or if you have been asked to be a judge for the NFA, Flute choir, those are some experiences that would work very well under the service umbrella. The next big section on your document will be honors and awards. So any scholarships you've received while at school or grants that you've been awarded, these would be excellent to list under honors and awards. The second major thing to consider is relevance. Is the job experience or adjudicator experience, service, all those things I've listed previously, is it relevant to the job you are applying to? So a good example would be, not many people know this, but while I was working on my bachelor's as an undergrad, I worked in the Soil, Water, Environmental Science department. So SWES, as it was abbreviated, was a great experience for me. I got to learn Microsoft Word and Excel. However, I don't know if talking about entering soil data would be relevant to a Flute professor position. So that's something I keep out of my CV. The third main thing that I would like to have you consider while writing your document is don't overstate your ability. You will be found out pretty quickly if you tend to either sugarcoat things or over-exaggerate things. Just be very genuine and be very honest. So a good example of this is, as an undergrad, I took French classes and I minored in French. That was about a good 10 years ago. I speak a little Francais now, but I'm not advanced. So I would not, in my wildest dreams, put down French, professional or advanced. I'm a good intermediate or a beginner. So don't overstate your ability. And also, under that, don't list the skill if it's not a current skill set. So those are some things to consider. The fourth main tip that I would like to suggest is to quantify or qualify your accomplishments. So a good example of this is when I taught at Eastern New Mexico University. During that one semester, I brought in Dr. Patricia Sermon as the guest artist to give a recital and a masterclass. During that time, when I was organizing the masterclass, I raised some funds to help out ENMU to bring her in. So, for example, Yamaha was a sponsor. Music of Friends was also a sponsor. So, for example, say I raised $500 from Yamaha. I would want to put that down. I raised $500 from Yamaha, and that's a great example of quantifying my accomplishments. Or qualify, using the words excellent, efficient, etc. So those are my 4 main pointers for your Curriculum Vitae or resume. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Have a good time with this job hunting process. Yes, it's stressful, but it can be very rewarding, and I just want to wish you all well during your job hunting, and remember to enjoy the process. Thank you. Today's episode is sponsored by J&K Productions. They produce all of my episodes, from adding the intro and outro music to editing the audio and all post-production needs. Contact them for your next podcast project at jkproductions.media. Thank you for listening to the Flute 360 podcast. For more information, please visit HeidiKBegay.com. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review in the iTunes store. Let's talk about Flute.